Please tell me your full name and when and where you were born.
Ernest Dale Allen is my name, and I was born in London, Kentucky in 1949.
Do you have any family members that are serving or have served in the military?
I do. My son served in the Iraq Gulf War. I'm sorry, and I had four cousins that served in the Vietnam era time, and I had uncles that served in World War II and World War One and Korean War.
What were you doing before you entered the service?
I just had graduated from vocational school, combination welding in Somerset, and then I got drafted.
What happened when you departed for boot camp and during the early days of training?
Well, it was when I first got to Fort Knox. I didn't know what to expect myself, but anyway, I did my job, did my training the best that I could, and try to stay out of trouble. I didn't want no extra work on me, so I handled that part pretty good.
Do you have any memories of your instructors that you would like to share?
I have some memories of some of my instructors, and they were kind of funny. Some of them were, active in making us feel comfortable and cutting up with us and telling jokes. And some of them were made you feel at ease, you might say.
Did you receive any specialized training? And if so, what kind?
Yes, I received AIT training after boot camp, and the initials stand for Advanced Individual Training. I was trained on the APC, which is an armored personnel carrier, and I was trained to drive or be gunners on the APC, and they really taught us well. Yeah, the instructors did. We got out of AIT in December and then come home for a few days.
Would you tell me a little bit about the barracks food and physical regimen?
Well, our barracks, they were old, but they were clean because we cleaned them. And the food, you had to get used to the food. I did. And it wasn't really all that bad, but it kept you going. And the physical training was, some of it was intense. Early of a morning, we'd get out and run before breakfast, and it made you feel better, really. It did.
Did you have a nickname? And if so, what was the significance of it?
No, I didn't. I didn't have no nickname. Not in the military, I didn't, but at home I did.
Which war did you serve in?
The Vietnam War, I served in that. For 11 months, I was in Vietnam.
Where in Vietnam did you serve?
I served in the southern part of Vietnam. Our rear base was there at Saigon. Uh, it's close to Bien Hoa, is our rear base, and we served. We were reconnaissance scouts, and we served around Saigon, Bien Hoa, out in the jungle, and did scouting and contact with the enemies, whatever come along.
Do you remember arriving and what it was like?
Yeah, I do remember arriving. Um, we got off the plane and it was hot and muggy, and there was an odor there. It wasn't what I was used to because of the way everything was that they did there in Vietnam. It was something to get used to, the heat and the rain. It came ever so often. The monsoon season sets in, and you just fight that. You fight dust with what we were on and APCs. We had the Sheridan tanks with us too, and a lot of dust. Unless you're the lead track, you don't get much dust.
Would you tell me about a couple of your most memorable experiences overseas?
Yes, I can tell you about those memories that the first time we got in contact with the enemy, I was thinking, this is real. I had to put everything else aside and realize that. And going back to my instructors, I did everything that we were supposed to do. If you get, like, put the oil on your gun when it gets hot, or weapon, I might say, is what we're supposed to call it. And if it gets hot, you put the oil on it and keeps it cooler. And the others, there was some good times in Vietnam. We stayed out in the jungle maybe a month at a time. Then we come to our rear base, and they would have bands for us and just a time to relax, rather than how you didn't relax as well out in the jungle.
How did you stay in touch with family and friends back home?
By letters, we wrote back and forth to each other, and the good thing about that was you didn't have to put no stamp on it. You just wrote free up there in the corner. So they did furnish that part to us.
Would you tell me about the day your service ended?
My service ended in August of 1971, and I got on the plane and flew to Lexington. Then from there, I came home by car.
How were you received by your family and community?
I was welcomed, and they were proud of me, I guess. But, I served and I did what I was supposed to.
How did you readjust to civilian life?
Well, readjusting to civilian life wasn't too bad, and I adjusted, I think, very well, very quickly too.
What was your career after the war?
After the war, I got into carpentry work, construction work, mainly houses, dwellings, and some commercial. But we did contracting.
Have you remained in contact with or reunited with fellow veterans?
As far as staying in contact with any of them, I didn't, but I wish I had of. Got their address and kept in contact. I wish I did.
Are you a member of any veterans organizations? If so, which ones?
Yes, I'm a member of the Vietnam Veterans of America, and our post is here in London. And we meet once a month, which I'm glad I did join that. And we do fundraisers. We do scholarships for 3 high school students, something we're proud of, and let the community know that we're here doing things, not just for us.
How did your wartime experiences affect your life?
Well, you don't never forget the war, and you have bad memories and good memories too. But it does affect, I think, anybody that's been in a war. And one thing that I didn't really like is where our government went in Vietnam and sprayed the Agent Orange, and a lot of men has got sick from that or got illnesses, and a lot of them have already died. That's my age and younger. You might say the way we feel about it is they sprayed us and gave us that Agent Orange, what comes from it, and then send us home to die the way we looked at it. But, you know, I can't believe they did that.
What are some life lessons you learned from your military experience?
Well, first of all, and first thing is you learn to obey orders and be respectful to others. And I think it made me grow because I was young at that time, and it just made me grow up quickly, you might say.
What message would you like to leave for future generations who will view this video?
Well, I'd like to say, and I realize now about our future generations, that we have to have military for protection of the United States. And if anyone is willing to do that, uh, I would be proud of them for doing that and let them realize that we have a need and if they would serve their country.
Is there anything you feel like we haven't discussed or should be added to this interview?
No, I don't think I would have to add anything, but when I got out, and a few years later, you realized why you have to be trained, and the trainers and instructors, they did a good job, and we had extra training after we got in Vietnam, jungle training and that sort of thing. But I see where we have to have a strong military. I do.